Welcome to Peaking to Success, the podcast that delves deep into our guest success stories, the highs, the lows, the lessons learned, and if there's any exciting future plans lined up. Talking about future plans, Peaking into Success is proudly supported by Peak Wills and Estate Planning. We're here to support you with any future planning. Long gone are the times of solicitors in suits and ties and dark rooms and outdated practices. We are proud to offer a fresh and dynamic approach to the stuffy old world of wills, changing the way we talk about what happens when we die. But that's enough talk about death on a podcast introduction. It's time to pass you over to Peaking into Success host, Mr. Adam Khan. Whose success are we peeking into this episode, Adam?
Hi Tanvir, how are we today?
Yeah, hi Adam, I'm good, how are you?
No, I'm really good, thank you. I mean, it gets dark early now, so I'm a bit confused with doing them later at night, but no, it's all good. How are you finding the colder weather?
To be honest with you, I suffer from seasonal affective disorder because I have an underactive thyroid, which affects my hormones. So as soon as it gets darker and colder, it really starts affecting me. Yes, I'm very much a summer's child. So when the sun goes away and the light goes away, I can struggle. But I have my own mechanisms, that help me, coping mechanisms, should I say, that help me to deal with it.
No, nice. And I mean, hopefully it's not too cold and we get the summer.
No, I don't think it's cold yet. No. Just the darkness and the gloominess and the greyness.
Oh, no, it's not what we want. We want the sun back. So, of course, for people, I mean, I don't think there is anyone in Derby that doesn't know you in the creative scene. But for anyone that doesn't, how would you sum yourself up in a nutshell?
Someone who likes to bring people together.
That's nice. I like that. So, of course, I know you for a man that's got multiple different hats in the creative space. So do you want to kind of go through how you got into the creative space and kind of what spurs you on to kind of have these many hats? Is, of course, you've got your connecting creatives as well as your work that you do with Bunk, with the poetry nights, and of course being a community editor for BBC Radio Derby. So please divulge and kind of explain how you got to where you got to.
So I wasn't really involved in the creative field of Derby at all until I actually started working for Radio Derby. I think being the executive producer, of the evening show, which was an arts and entertainment show, enabled me to make contacts with a lot of people who were creative people, musicians, poets, etc. And with me, I like to have strong networks. So I like to, whenever I meet someone, I like to get to know them, like to talk to them. Just like, oh yeah, do this and then goodbye, not hear from them. I like to try to create a relationship with them because I feel, it's nice. And then whenever I have an event or something, I can always help them. They can help me out, I can help them out and things like that. And I'm always trying to get people on the radio to help them promote themselves. So I think from there, I used to do a little bit of poetry, like page poetry, but nothing serious. I did online poetry on different poetry communities. But then poets were coming in and telling me about spoken word. I thought, oh, what's spoken word? I was like, oh, you perform in front of people. So I ended up going to a spoken word night, Wordwise, by Jamie Tarasavulu. I just wanted to go and watch, and he got me onto the open mic straight away because I performed a poem. And then I kind of started enjoying it. And then after a couple, I thought, well, there's not really a diverse one in Derby. What I wanted to do, I wanted diverse people to start expressing themselves and just not to suppress it, just to let it out. So during, I think in May 2019, it was Mental Health Month or week or something. So we did a poetry night about mental health, just as a one-off. And because it was so popular, we decided to carry it on.
Okay.
So that's how Real Talk was born, really. From that, and it was very diverse. So I thought that was really the start of me being involved in the Derby creative community.
So, of course, you've said about how you got into the kind of the spoken word scene, but how did that kind of develop to get involved and helping with, of course, various other creative kind of avenues in the Derby scene?
So what I noticed was that, there'd be events, but people didn't know about the events. People would be doing things and people didn't know that they were doing them. So what I wanted to do in regards to connecting creatives Derby is to provide a platform for the creative people of Derby to come into one place, mix and mingle with like-minded people, and then get on a mic and tell the audience what they're doing and what they want to do, and if they were looking to collaborate or just to meet fellow like-minded people. And what would happen was, after the open mic, people would actually talk to each other for a really long time. And, I found that quite heartwarming, really, just to get people together and get them to connect. It still goes on now, first Monday of every month at Dubrek. And it's just amazing. And then sometimes I see people who've met there out and about at events, and I thought, well, that's what I'm trying to achieve here. I want to bring people together, get them to collaborate with each other and raise awareness of what the creatives of Derby are doing.
Do you feel like, as a person that is kind of operating in Derby, do you think the creative scene is kind of like not as kind of front and centre stage as it should be? Do you think it's kind of in the shadows and the back burner, and not a lot of day-to-day people are realising all the creative stuff that's happening in Derby?
There's a lot of very, very talented people in Derby. Now, the problem is people don't support each other, Adam.
Yeah.
So you need to support one another. So I went to an event the other day and there was a lot of very good poets, very good musicians, but hardly anyone was there. I mean, it could have been the Floods, but I'm thinking to myself, this is a free event. There's talented people here. People should be coming to this. And then people complain there's nothing on.
That is true.
I will always support those who support me, and I will always try to make as many events as I can. I know it can be difficult sometimes, especially when there's a cost. So whenever I do an event, I try to make it free. Yeah. I know it's not always possible because you've got to pay creatives, and there isn't any funding out there for people to get funding to put on events. There isn't. I know Derby Can was there, but Derby Can are coming to an end now, and they put on loads of events, and they really showcase Derby talent, and they're going to be a big miss now that they're not around. So the problem, we need to support one another. The Derby's creative community is not going to increase or get any better if we're not promoting and supporting each other. That's not just from going to events, but promoting venues and supporting venues as well, There aren't that many venues in Derby, but there are some who do a lot with the arts, Yeah,
no, I completely agree. I feel like there is so many more than people think. People just think there's kind of like the theatre and Dada and kind of the bigger ones in Derby, and they don't realise, of course, Dubrek and little kind of independent ones that are like scattered on the outskirts of the city.
Yeah, but even with like the larger ones, they struggle for people to come in through the doors as well.
I totally agree.
And we've got such a fast-growing population in Derby. Why is that happening? That's the question.
That is the question. If we knew that, of course, these creatives wouldn't be struggling to showcase their kind of skills, and they would develop in the way that they should and get the recognition they deserve for what they do. I mean, I've seen some up in hand, and I've been in venues where there's only been like between 5 and 10 people, and it is a shame.
Yeah, there was a poet and a scholar called Rumi, and he said, "Stop acting so small. You are the universe in ecstatic motion." I'm a big believer in the universe has a way of making things happen and bringing people together. But we can also control that and help the universe with its aims. I mean, personally, I think my aim in life is to bring people together, but I also believe that the universe enables me to do that. So, the reason why I like to bring people together is because I like to have I'm a big believer in diversity and inclusion. But I like to bring people together, especially people from different backgrounds, into one room so they learn about each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, when it comes to, obviously we live in a society that is bigoted, racism, sexism, things like that. But when when you see someone who sings really well or does poetry really well, or I mean, even outside creativity, just plays football really well, no one cares what colour or religion they are.
No, that's true.
They admire their creativity and their talent, don't they?
They do.
So, in many ways, creativity brings people together.
And that's what you're starting to achieve on a bigger front, I think.
Well, I don't know. I'm just in a small. I'm just a little. The universe is inside us, Adam. I'm just a small player in this big universe of ours.
But you're doing big things for a city that is needing of it.
I'm trying my best.
Agree.
Yeah.
The amount of people that turn up to your Connecting Creatives events is on a big scale. So,
but people have gone down a little bit now. It's a little bit more intimate, but it's great though. People really connect. It doesn't matter how many are there; they'll still talk for at least 2 hours.
That's good, and that's what we need. We need to get them people showcased more. Yeah,
I mean, if you think about it, creativity is a form of catharsis for so many, right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
And it's a way for us to tell our stories, so basically express what we keep inside. 'Cause sometimes our tongue, can't say what's inside us, so we use our creativity to express it. But that's how important it is.
That is true, and I mean, you've nicely tied that into what I was going to ask next with what your current project is I mean, what you have just said is directly involved with the film that you've created. Am I right? So of course, how did the film come around? Is that of course a new venture for you, I assume?
So Derby Can were giving digital commissions for like 2-3 minutes, and I said, look, it would be better if we could do longer. But eventually they did longer, and they awarded 9 people to do a short documentary. And mine is called Creativity and Me, and it's about how we use creativity to express what we suppress. And it follows 6 people: a comedian, a poet, a dancer, a rapper, a musician, an artist, and a comedian. Is that 6? So 6 people from Derby and their stories of how their creativity has helped them to express what they suppress. It was really good making it. I didn't film it or do any of the editing. That was done by Hardy, but I kind of help produce it and direct it.
Nice. And do you think, of course, by doing the film, has that kind of opened you up to a new creative realm of something that you pursue further? Or...
I think it's one for the bucket list, Adam, because as you know, I had quite an aggressive battle with cancer back in about 10 years ago. I think 10 years ago in November, middle of November, I was diagnosed with stage 4 locally advanced cancer, which, was a pretty tough battle. And I think my battle with cancer was one of my reasons to further enhance bringing people together. Because my daughters used to come see me, they were only 10 and 9. And they were pretty strong to me. I was hospitalised for over a month because I'd lost too much weight and had gone down to 4.7 stone. And so what happened was, they used to have really sad faces, but they used to be really strong. And one day I just thought I'd speak to God. And I said, if you let me live, I will help as many people as I can. That's what I'll help as many people as I can. And I'm not joking, Adam, the very next day, people just started coming and talking to me about what was on their mind. One of my martial arts friends, who's a 5th Dan black belt, he sat on my bedside crying, talking about his dad. And then after that, when I actually got out of hospital, online, people used to come to me, talk to me. And then obviously, slowly as my health got better, I tried my best. But even my job at the time, which wasn't for BBC, that was like kind of bringing people together. I just try to help people as much as I can. Because as you know, I'm into inclusion and people getting... Because I used to run a football club where I had young people from very different nationalities and backgrounds. And one of the most important things for having children from different backgrounds and having children outside the inner city of Derby coming on part of that team was for them to realize, oh, hang on a minute, people from ethnic minorities, immigrants, refugees, Muslims, asylum, they're okay. They're not like what the news reports. And that was my aim, is to also, raise awareness, I suppose, and break stereotypes, break down barriers what people have of meeting different people, and that's always been very important. And I remember after September the 11th, I used to do interfaith dialogue workshops. So I used to get young people in from different backgrounds, and they used to talk about what's on their mind, and even that helped break down barriers. And I think that's one of the main reasons why I'm now using creativity, because I kind of identified that there was a lot of things going on, but it wasn't like people weren't supporting each other, or it wasn't joint, or people weren't aware of it. And why? Are we not marketing it properly? Are we not letting people know very well? Me personally, if I had something on, I'd contact people. By the way, when I first did Connecting Creatives, I contacted a lot of people. Please come. This is going to be a great event. And like my documentary, I actually contacted, oh yeah, my documentary is being aired. I really like it if you come. I think sometimes you just, to bring people together, you have to personally contact them, because social media advertising doesn't work very well. I know we've gone off in a tangent now, haven't we? Sorry.
No, it's completely fine. No, I'm transfixed on what you're saying.
That's why I go off in a tangent. So you got to control. I'm like a out of control car.
No, it's okay. Yeah? I like what.
Sometimes you've got to be that driving instructor who presses the brake.
No, I like what you're on about. So no, please go ahead.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons. I think my battle with cancer. I wasn't your average kind of person how to deal with cancer, because I kind of trained myself to think I haven't got cancer. I don't know if you wanted to go on to this subject.
No.
I've just kind of moved on. Go back to creativity if you want.
No. The thing that, of course, I like about your story and what you've kind of just said is that it shows that no matter kind of what you go through in life, and kind of people do have struggles, and people kind of rate struggles on different levels. So, of course,
yeah,
that's a big struggle you went through, and for you to kind of go from that place in your life, and now kind of, I'd call you like the creative godfather of Derby. Like,
no, that's a bit of a title there. I don't.
But I'd say that, I'd say 95% of the creative scene in Derby, and try and match people together. I know that you've asked me if, can I help you get in contact with people in the past? And you've helped me in my early days connect with quite a few people that's kind of snowballed me to where I am now. So kind of that should show. And I mean, it's the title of the kind of podcast that, of course, there is peaks in people's stories and their way to success. And it's shown kind of at the moment you've been in a dire low, and now you're peaking. So no, I like the story and how you kind of got to where you got to.
Thank you. So basically, I trained myself to think that I haven't got cancer, which I suppose at the time was my coping mechanism. So because it was like on the base of my tongue and on my neck, throat and voice box, I was a radio presenter at the time. So first of all, I looked up and said, God, you got a funny sense of humour, haven't you, if I lose my voice? And I think that's why I was losing my voice. I think, oh my God, I can't lose my voice. Because my voice is different now than it used to be.
Okay.
But like I said to myself, I can either sit here and feel sorry for myself, right? Or I can practice what I preach and be positive like I am for other people. Because we can't control if we live and die. Yeah?
Yeah.
So we need to just get that out of the system. There were times where I felt really low, times where, I completely isolated myself from my friends and everybody. Because when I was in the hospital, I used to get 30 people a day come to visit me. And some of the patients used to say to me, oh, you're famous. I go, no, this is what Asian people do. So they used to come and sometimes one day I said to the nurse, please don't let anyone, I just want to be left alone. But still, they let them in. But yeah, so when you're lying on a hospital bed for a whole month, you get quite frustrated. You get a lot of time to think. But yeah, so when I was going through my chemotherapy, I kind of like just used to, because you become a zombie when you're going through chemo. I just used to supplicate, and I just tell myself this will all be over soon. So just let's not worry about it, because 50% of the battle is in your head, Adam.
Yes.
You know, and it really saddens me, because those people who had cancer at the time, when I had cancer, some of them are no longer with me, and it really saddens me when I hear that somebody's passed away with cancer. It really breaks my heart. Because I know what it's like. And the hardest thing is what my family went through. You know, I was fine.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't shed a tear. You know, I was telling them I'm going to be tough. I'm not going to think about it. I mean, I used to do some really silly stuff. Like, I used to go to radiotherapy myself, and you're not supposed to. And that's why my consultant, Dr. Vijayan, who was fantastic, he kept me in his ward. He said, look, you look really ill. I'm keeping you in my ward. And my car stayed in the Royal Hospital car park went for over a month. It was quite funny. I laugh at it now. But yeah, I mean, I look back and think to myself, how did you do that? And I never addressed any of that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because when I was working, I just carried on. I went back to work really quickly. And then it was actually when I started working for Radio Derby that I actually, weirdly enough, started talking about it, which is weird. And I suppose in some ways, working for an organization like that really exposes your vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
And then I thought to myself, oh my God, how did I go through that? How did I cope?
That's the thing, you're being reflective on everything, which is, I think, reflection is a big part of progression. And I think until you reflect on something that's been a big part of your life, you can't move on. And I think that's what you've got to the stage where you've kind of reflected and you're openly talking about it on here, which I really appreciate. And it's shown now that your progression and your drive is kind of 10 to the dozen.
Yeah, because my friend Rumi, he said, if you're irritated by every rub, how will your mirror be polished? And that's what reminded me. I said, my mirror's just being polished.
That's true.
Yeah, and another quote in regards to why I'm so involved in the creativity is because when you do things from your soul, you feel a river moving in you like a joy. And it gives me joy to see people, coming together. When I see these musicians and poets doing work, so many people in the poetry night, they've never done poetry and I've encouraged them to do poetry. Because we all have a poem in our heart, Adam. We just have a different way of expressing it.
That's true. That is true. It's the confidence as well, and I think if people go up and do one thing, then they're more likely to get a book for it and kind of.
The thing is, when you've done it, it's just a relief, know, and it's actually a great achievement because you're born with wings, Adam. Don't crawl through life.
That's true.
If you've got a talent, show it. If you've got it, flaunt it. Let it out. Don't. I recently met an absolutely amazing singer, and she's not ever released an album. I was shocked. She's only releasing an album now. She's called Voice of an Angel. I was like, I can't believe it. If you've got a talent, let it out. Let the world know.
That's it. A lot of people don't want to go into.
If you've been given a gift, you have to show the world.
That's true. That is true.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, what you thought your biggest achievement was in your career. That can be...
In my career or life?
You can do both. I'd like to hear both.
It's a difficult one, It's a really, really difficult one, Adam. I suppose if you look at it from an achievement in regards to my community work and stuff like that, I was BBC Unsung Hero 2006. Which was a double-edged sword because I think I got it too early because I'd only been doing 5-6 years of community work. So I was a bit... Because two young people who I'd coached as footballers nominated me and I hadn't even known that they nominated me. And I didn't even take it seriously when the BBC rang me up and said, oh, by the way, you've been shortlisted for the East Midlands BBC Unsung Hero, which I won. And then I went to the Sports Personality Award final, which I didn't want to go to be honest with you. But I went there and then obviously I didn't win that one. But I think I got it too early. I suppose if you look at it from my community, I suppose that's the big achievement. But I think the biggest achievement in life is that I'm still alive, Adam.
Yeah.
You know, I've had many close encounters with death, including being born, not breathing. My mum said when I was born, I was all green, and she couldn't hold me because I died twice. I had convulsions before she even held me. And then the Green Reaper's been a regular visitor. I say that tongue in cheek, but he's never wanted me to go with him. I've actually got lots of poems about the Green Reaper, very dark ones. And then again, at the age of 8 or 9, I was hit by a car in a coma for 2 weeks, and all I can remember is my mum's tears. Then nearly drowned twice in Turkey. Then you had a battle with cancer. So there's always been close calls. So that, I suppose one of my greatest achievements is that I'm still alive.
No, that's always a good achievement, to be able to see the next day and see tomorrow. So
yeah, and in regard to work, I think I've been quite lucky with my work. I remember, what was I working? I think I was working for Derby City Council Sports Development, and I was driving down Normanton Road, and a chap called Afgab stopped me and said, "Would you like to manage a community radio station?" Like, okay. So I went for a job interview, got it, stayed there 13 years, and there was a lot of good things about the radio station, but there was a lot of bad things as well. I don't think I really fulfilled my potential. I was there for too long. And then one of my volunteers, at the time, he went and became an apprentice with the BBC. And then, 6 years later, I'm driving down his street. His name was Aftab as well, who's editor now. And he stopped me and he said, "There's a job coming up for the BBC, why don't you apply for it?" And my first words were, I don't want to work for the BBC. Because one, I didn't want to work in radio anymore, and I didn't really want to work in media. And he goes, "Have a look at the role." And it was a more community role, or having better relationships with the community. I go, so I applied for it. And I've been quite lucky. I've had 7 job interviews and got all 7 jobs. So I'm either really good at talking rubbish, or because I don't know. I think when I have a job interview, it's weird, Adam. It's like I'm the cat and they're pigeons, yeah, right. And I've got to show these people why I'm I think my competitive nature comes out of me when it comes to job interview, and I think it's more to prove to myself, because when I was young, I had really low self-esteem and real low confidence. It wasn't until I started doing martial arts when I was like 17, 18 that this confidence in me came out, and I started achieving in my life in regards to. So I left school with no GCSEs really, and then I went back to college 2 years later, and I got my A in English, and I was voted one of the best students in college, and I got an American Express scholarship as well, and I ended up going to university. So, for a lad who's doesn't really take a lot of things in life very seriously, hasn't got a lot of hard work, I've been really lucky to be where I am in my life now. Like I said, the universe has a way of making things happen.
No, I like.
With me, it's be nice to people, be kind to people, and they'll be nice and kind to you.
No, that's completely true. What would you say is a piece of advice that you'd give to younger people? So whether that be in the creative industry or on a day-to-day.
Rumi also said, "What you seek is seeking you." Okay, so if you want to do well, sorry for being so Rumi. Rumi is my inspiration. Rumi is the only poet I read.
Okay.
Or have read. So he's always so. Coming back, sorry, I know you've got to answer the question, but you keep reminding me of things. So for many years, I forgot Rumi because I used to write a bit of poetry when I was 19 in uni, and somebody burnt all my journals. Somebody very jealous. So then I left poetry. I forgot about it for many years. I did many years, and I forgot about Rumi. And then I hadn't spoken to my father for 4 years. And then my brother rings me up because he had stomach cancer, but he didn't really tell me. My brother rings me up and says, he lives in a different city. He goes, "Oh, Dad's just had a stroke. You need to come and see him. He's on his way out." So it was really hard for me, bitterness and stubbornness are 2 of the most evil things in life, Another Rumi quote, sorry about this. Rumi says that the problem with this world is we don't look at ourselves, we blame each other. So while I was blaming him and he was blaming me, because I had quite a dysfunctional childhood and I blame my father for it because he was never there. But he was a bit of a thug and a gangster and stuff like that, very different to who I am. So for me, I had difficulty forgiving him, not realizing there was actually some very good advice and stuff that he'd done for me. But at the time, I guess I was bitter and stubborn, and he was bitter and stubborn. So to see this giant of a man, I went to the hospital in Birmingham, lying there like a skeleton. I hadn't cried for years, Adam. I hadn't cried since I was a kid. Yeah, this was also November 2010. Yeah. So I remember him lying there. He couldn't talk or nothing. Yeah, but he also said he didn't want me and my brother to come. Well, not the brother who lived with another brother to come to see him or come to the funeral or anything. And I could see the anger in his eyes when I came to the hospital. But I'm not joking. I cried for 5 days. Yeah, I could have smashed that hospital wall up. That's how much anger and rage was inside me. Not at him, but at myself. I didn't stop crying, and I'd never cried. I just kept crying and crying until I remember. And at one stage, and my dad couldn't move, grabbed my hand and put it to his mouth. So in a way, it was like he'd forgiven me.
Yeah. That's
it's probably
what
the most emotional moment in my life. And the point I'm trying to make was, I was dead for a long time. But when my father passed away, I think I came alive. Rumi came back to me, and my spiritualness came back. So my purpose in life, I was reminded of my purpose in life, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that completely makes sense. And I mean, it shows that in your life, it's kind of these significant milestones kind of push you on and kind of give you that kind of spark and that desire to push on to be successful and do what you need to do.
I think it's sorry for another Rumi quote, but the Rumi, sorry.
It's okay.
You probably never thought this is going to go like this. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Rumi said the wound is the place where the light enters you.
Yeah.
So when you're hurt, you learn from the adversity and the pain. So I think I became a lot of a nicer person after that experience. I mean, I've been to pilgrimage to Mecca as well, which had taught me patience and stuff like that, in 2008. But I think the spiritual side of me really came out in 2010, 2011. And coming back to the battle with cancer, because my dad died from stomach cancer, but he was angry with the world. So he didn't care he had cancer, He kind of 60, 70 cigarettes a day. He just didn't care. But coming to my cancer battle, when after the chemo and the radiotherapy effects were laying off, I couldn't think properly. My mind wouldn't think properly. I felt really dumb. Yeah? Making spelling mistakes, grammatical mistakes, not remembering things. So that's when I started writing poetry again, Adam, because I needed to let my brain work. But at first, and I look back at those poems back in 2015, when I started writing, there's so much grammatical and spelling mistakes in them, and I'm embarrassed reading them.
You should never
really
be embarrassed
reading them. This is rubbish. So one of the reasons why I started poetry was, again, to make my brain think properly again. And really, in many ways, poetry really saved me, Adam.
Well, do you know, with poetry now, to back then, how do you see it differently? Does that make sense?
You know what it was? I think back then I was learning again.
Okay.
And then slowly you pick up things and spoken word. Because spoken word is not like page poetry, right? It's like outdoor and indoor cricket. Page poetry is outdoor cricket, normal cricket. Yeah?
Yeah.
Right? Indoor cricket, you can't play indoor cricket like you play outdoor cricket. So spoken word is more about the performance. You can't use big metaphors and things like that when you're doing spoken word, in my opinion. You have to make it simple so the audience can keep up.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So now I forget my point. But what was the point? I don't know what I was trying to make.
You were saying, of course, I asked you about how if your look on poetry had changed.
So basically, as it went on, I think my poetry developed, and when you write more, you kind of get better at it. And I've noticed that because I used to be on an online poetry community called Poetry Soup, and I left and I went back, and I see poets have really improved there who are known in the beginning. Also on Instagram, I have a community with 12.6 thousand people who we set prompts up, which I run with somebody else. A poet called Ink Empress, and Yeah, no, yes, yes. So I enjoy helping other poets, and I enjoy helping people become poets, if that makes sense, Adam. And I want to see you at Real Talk, and I want you to do a poem if you can do that, if that's okay.
I mean, I'll 100% try and give it a go. You might
Thank
have
you.
to give me some time to
I've got
create
your
a
report.
poem.
You've said it on here now. I'm going to take you. You know what it is? The thing is, people think they need to be very poetic. No, just come and talk your truth.
Yeah.
Just come and talk your truth. You know, there's a lot of people who do poetry now at Real Talk who just used to come and watch.
And they've kind of got the book to go up, and that's what you want to do if you can inspire at least one person in the room.
That's what life's about. We've got to inspire them.
100%. I was going to ask you now who you deem to be your idol. So you mentioned Rumi a lot. You mentioned Rumi
I would say
a lot.
idol. My inspiration is Rumi. In regards to poetry-wise, my inspiration in life, I don't know. I don't know. I just get inspired by life, what I see, what I feel. You know.
That makes sense.
I thought my mum's my inspiration because she's like my hero. You know.
I mean, I'd agree. I'd say my mum. So no, I'm with you there.
Yeah, my mum's my angel. You know. That's why, you know, when I graduated in 2000, I was offered a job in Dubai, international tourism. And I turned it down because I couldn't leave my mum.
No, I understand that.
That's why I've not left Derby yet. I do love Derby, Adam. I love Derby. And every time I go away, I can't wait to go back home. And when I'm close to Derby and I smell that air, I know I'm home.
100%.
You know? I love Derby so much. But, you know, there are other places in the world that we could go to. But yeah, I was saying my mum is my inspiration and my mum is my hero. She is my, yeah.
No, I like that. Of course, I've got another couple of like random questions to ask you along
That's
the
fine.
same
You can
route.
be as random as you want because I've been very random, Adam.
So my next question, these are just like some off the cuff ones to try and understand you more. So of course, you mentioned bucket list earlier, and I was like, oh, is he gonna take my question away? But if there's one thing that you could do on your bucket list, at the top of your bucket list, and it's the one thing you'd want to do, what is it?
You know what, that is, and then for some reason I can't really think of it at the moment. To be honest with you, I've been quite lucky, you know. I've done a lot of my bucket list. I always wanted to watch the sun come out of the water, and I'm not talking about sunrise. I wanted to see the sun come out of the water. Does that make sense?
No, I'm lost.
The sunrise, you can see sunrise without the sun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to see the sun rise from the water. So when after 5 years, when I was allowed to travel again, for some reason, some angels paid for me to go to Sydney.
Okay.
In Australia. So they were friends I'd met by the poetry community, but I also had some relatives there as well. And David, weirdly enough, David had ended up in England by mistake because he was supposed to be going to Bosnia, but he missed his flight. So what happened? He ended up in England. And he had nowhere to go, but his relatives lived here, so I met with him, and then I met with him in Australia as well. And he took me to several places to see sunrise, but I hadn't seen sunrise, just not properly coming out the water. And I think near the end, it was a clear sky, and I saw the whole sun come out of the water. And he turned around to me and said, "You should have seen your face." So anyway, come back to the bucket list. I want to travel all over the world to many different countries. I think that's my bucket list.
Is there a particular place you'd pick to go to first?
Somewhere where for some reason my head's gone blank.
It's okay.
And there's loads of places I'd like to go. You know, somewhere I really like. Somewhere like I'd like to go to Italy for like a month to see the whole of Italy. You know, that would be great. Yeah.
Do like a a road
But
trip round.
Japan is somewhere I'd like to go, and also South Korea.
Nice.
And then I've been to Brazil. I've been to Australia.
Nice.
Australia 3 times now. It's a bit too much, I think. So, yeah, I mean, it'd be nice to go to a place like Vietnam. You know, I think that'd be nice, just to see the culture and things like that. Also, places like Costa Rica, places like what do you call it, Colombia would be cool.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah, I want
nice.
to go to exotic places and places where I like to go for like culture and heritage and stuff like that. I went to Jerusalem in June. That was a bucket list.
Was that good?
That
Did you enjoy that?
Jerusalem's a beautiful place. Just a shame about everything that happens there. But we won't turn this into a
No.
debate. Yeah, so in essence, I think my bucket list is to travel as many different places in the world as I can.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I mean,
I don't want to jump out of a plane or anything like that. That's not on my bucket list.
I've always wanted to do that. I'm not gonna lie, skydiving's up there for me. So yeah.
It's not something that really tickles my fancy.
The next question is, if you had a chef with you, and he could a chef, yeah, and he can make you your favourite thing to eat and give you also a drink, like I'll go to a shop and get you any drink you want, what are you going to choose?
The drink is Pepsi Max.
Nice. What food?
Oh God, I'm kind of like a basic kind of, I love fish and chips.
Oh no, fish and chips is good.
Yeah, the best fish and chips I've actually had in Australia was a John Dory fish. It was really nice. I like dishes with fish, but that's a difficult one, It's a difficult, because I do love food, I love Korean food as well.
Okay.
Things like kimchi, and also like ramen noodles. There's just so much great food. But also, because I had radiotherapy in my mouth, there's a lot of food I can't eat, because my muscles are still quite weak in there, and food gets stuck, so I can't really eat chicken. Yeah, so I do love food and I do enjoy food. I love a good, I think I went to a Korean place and I had like a chili fish with noodles. That was beautiful. So something like that would be nice. So a Korean or a Japanese chef or an Oriental chef would be great.
Nice. And as a follow-up question to that, is there someone that you'd choose, what's one person you'd choose to have that meal?
I think the person who I set up my poetry community, Alt Poetry Prompts, with, Ink Empress.
Nice.
Because, we brought 12.6 thousand people together online in the virtual world, which we're not very active on there at the moment, but it'd be nice to have lunch with that poet.
Good, nice.
For dinner, yeah.
The last kind of question I've got for you is, of course, you've been around Derby all your life.
Yeah.
What would you deem to be your gem of Derby? So if someone that's never been to Derby rolls in and you're told to show them your gem of Derby, where are you showing them?
It can't be Derbyshire.
It can be Derbyshire. It can be Derbyshire.
But there's loads of beautiful places in Derbyshire. I'd take them to Matlock.
Okay, nice.
And there's a lot of beautiful places around. There's a place called Lumsdale, which is like a waterfall that comes down. You can walk up and down. It's where the old mills used to be.
Oh, I know where you are.
Joseph Strutt's Mills used to be. Lumsdale's really beautiful and stunning. Very difficult to get to though. But there's so many beautiful places in Derbyshire and Gem. I would take them out to Derbyshire if I wanted to do that. Let's just take them drive down Normanton Road if they want to see some culture.
That's very true.
My friend Jeff Halper came from Jerusalem. He's from the Israeli Committee Against Home Demolitions. He came a couple of days before the war started over there. And I took him to Normanton. He loved it. I took him to Arboretum Park. Arboretum Park's a gem, oldest park in the world.
It is.
Yeah, so he loved Arboretum Park. And then I took him to Kettlerston Hall. He liked Kettlerston Hall, but he just wasn't a big fan of the British Empire.
Oh, that's fair.
Lord Curzon. Yeah. But he really enjoyed his visit to Derby.
Nice.
Yeah.
Kind of to round up everything, do you want to tell everyone where they can kind of find you, where they can kind of access all the kind of events you do, as well as where they can come and watch your film, because of course that evening is coming up soon, as well as it being a free event, and all of your events are free events.
Yeah, so on Facebook, you can go to Real Talk or Connecting Creatives Derby. And the same on Instagram, really. Real Talk and Connecting Creatives Derby. And then you can follow whatever goes on in those events on there. So I do Connecting Creatives with Dubrek, because I've got to mention Dubrek, because Jay's been fantastic, giving us a facility. And also, we kind of do it together now. So both of us, it's a joint thing. Because he's got good contacts in the music industry. So yeah, and in regards to the film, it's called Creativity and Me. It's at Derby Theatre on Friday, 3rd of November. So if you're listening after 3rd of November, I guess it's irrelevant. But hopefully I'll get it played in different places and have more showings of it. But this one's at Friday, 3rd of November. It's one of 3 films being shown on that day. And if you go to the Derby Theatre website and type in the can, you'll find more details, and you can get yourself reserve a ticket, which is free.
Perfect. So, of course, this will get released before your big event and the film being showed on the 3rd of November, so people should go and check it out if they haven't, on Derby Theatre's website. And it's been amazing being able to kind of go into your ins and outs and how you got to where you are, and kind of a big thank you for helping connect creatives around Derby.
Thank you. I'll try my best.
No, you do, and you've got to keep it up. So no, thank you, and it's been amazing having you on.
No, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
No, anytime. If there's any next film, then of course we'll try and cover it as well.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No, thank you.
Hopefully people enjoy what I said.
Yeah, no, hopefully they will, and I mean, I'll pass on any feedback that I get.
Brilliant. No, thank you.
Want to know what's happening within Derby's black community? Or perhaps you have a story of your own to share? Then look no further than Majatu, your one-stop source for local African and Caribbean news. With our digital news platform and quarterly print magazine, keep up to date on all of the latest in arts, entertainment, food, sports, and more. Find us online at mojatu.com.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Peeking into Success podcast. If you've enjoyed what you've listened to today and would like to listen to more, go and check out the previous episodes on our channels, and make sure you follow the page as well to keep up to date with the new exciting episodes that we've got upcoming for the rest of the year.